ready for a trade deadline dud, Keefe?
Oh, I thought the deadline was today.
Nope.
I thought the deadline was 4 o'clock today.
No.
Oh. So what? They didn't do anything.
No.
They didn't do anything. Maybe they also thought it was today?
They didn't do it. The whole league was doing stuff.
The league
just
was
about.
making moves. There were big-time players getting traded yesterday.
Yep.
Big time, small time, medium time players all getting traded. Draft picks flying around, and they sat on their hands and did nothing.
Well, let's be fair.
They did nothing.
They actually sold the week before.
Yeah, they actually did do something, and they got rid of 2 players.
Like, even the Red Sox are smart enough to fake buy.
Oh, yeah. They're like, here's a player.
Even the Red Sox are smart enough to get idiots like me to be like, Steven Matz?
Dustin May?
Like, just to sucker in morons like me.
Yeah.
Even the Red Sox are smart enough to give you that. Like a little bit of something to just look at it and go, well, they did technically add to their team. Unlike this team yesterday.
They subtracted.
Which added nothing, subtracted the week before, probably was more interested in subtracting more yesterday, trading away Anthony Jennings, than adding anybody. And look, I still think they're a good team independent of doing anything.
Right.
I just wish they added some depth in case of injury, and I wish they added a player that could have raised their ceiling, because I think the window is wide open to compete for a Super Bowl this year, maybe win a Super Bowl this year. And apparently they disagree, and that's frustrating.
Yeah, it's super frustrating because this team is ahead of schedule. Like, they are a lot better now than I think anybody would have anticipated, and the rest of the AFC is like closer to you than we could have anticipated. And so nobody was screaming about, oh, you got to go out there and get Sauce Gardner or Quinnen Williams, right? The 2 best players that got traded yesterday by the Jets. Like, and you trading multiple first-round picks, that wasn't going to happen. Nobody's asking for that. But there's a big difference between trading, number 1 draft picks and then also doing nothing. There's a huge middle ground. You have all these other rounds. You added picks, and dumb me, I thought part of the Keon White and Kyle Duggar trades last week were to sort of get all your kind of draft capital lined up so you could make moves yesterday and sort of add depth pieces. The roster is better than we thought it was going to be, but it's obviously not perfect. And whether you think they need a starting running back, a depth running back, a depth pass rusher, a depth safety, a linebacker, whatever, like, you could make an argument for a lot of different positions on the team, and they decided to do nothing. And that is very frustrating. Yesterday was the time to do it. I'm not interested in somebody else's practice squad cast off. I wanted somebody that you could bring in and help the team.
Well, looking at the text line and Twitch chat, people are, what? We're going to spend more time on this. What'd you want him to do?
I wanted to make moves.
No one wanted to trade with him.
I don't know about that.
Giardi yesterday said Amy Adams-Strunk, and I believe this. Amy Adams-Strunk didn't want to trade anybody to Mike Vrabel. Didn't want to help Vrabel.
Okay, fine. Look, cross the Titans off because they're petty.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Okay? So, fine. The Titans didn't want to trade with you. I also believe, and I don't think it's smart business, but I believe that the Dolphins and Jets didn't necessarily want to trade with you. Rossini, your girl, had a tweet about this yesterday where she's like, other AFC East teams called the Dolphins and the Jets. I'm assuming that's the Patriots. It's Patriots or the Bills. And they didn't want to deal within the division. Okay, fine. I believe that too. I don't think that's good business for those teams, but I believe both those things. I don't think it's unique that teams in your division don't want to trade with you. I think that's a problem every team has probably every single year. Mm-hmm. And the Titans, fine, cross one team off the list. Players on other teams moved. And this is what I find unsatisfactory about that excuse and why I think it's an excuse. Jacoby Myers isn't a Titan. He's not a Jet or a Dolphin.
No.
You could have had him.
Yeah.
Raheed Shaheed, not a Titan or a Dolphin or a Jet. He moved. You could have had him. Logan Wilson, the first trade of the day or late night trade the night prior, got dealt from the Bengals to the Cowboys. He's not on any of those teams. Mm-hmm. So guys moved. Never mind, you can always sweeten the pot and throw more in and make it worth their while to make a trade. Trades in the division do happen. You've traded with the Jets before. You've traded with the Dolphins before. So it does happen. And I think it's exactly that. It's just an excuse to save face because they know they didn't do anything. And even worse than not doing anything, they sold. And I just find that so unsatisfactory in a year where I think, again, the AFC is wide open, and to not deviate from your plan. The plan you came up with when, what? We'd be happy with 9 wins in the playoffs? We'd be ecstatic about 10 wins in the playoffs? And you're ahead of schedule. You're doing great. You guys are onto something. I acknowledge all those things.
Yeah.
But this idea that we can't deviate from our plan that we came up with in April, why not? For
I
a
don't get it.
For
Yeah.
a 6th-round pick and a rental player, or a 4th-round pick and a rental player, that is not going to change the overall trajectory. You're not ruining your future, mortgaging your future to be all in this year. We're talking about like a 4th or a 5th or maybe a 6th-round pick. That is not mortgaging anything to try to win this year and reward your team, reward your fans, reward yourselves for being ahead of schedule. And not being willing to deviate from that or alter your thinking in any way, shape, or form, to me, is really, really, really frustrating and annoying.
I would have been mad about it, but not as mad if they even just kept Keon White and Kyle Duggar, because then you'd be like, well, they didn't sell. They just kind of stood pat, and they sort of took their team. They either didn't, maybe the asking prices were too high, or maybe they just felt good with the group and they moved on. But the fact that you peeled off a couple of players, and I know they weren't starters, don't get me wrong. I know they weren't the best fit, and neither you or I even really like them. But you're swapping those guys out for practice squad guys. That seems like you're taking away from the team. And then you have a week to go for the deadline. And it's probably not the same thing as like the baseball deadline where there are 100 moves and every team that's contending is like, all right, who did we add? Who did we add? And you see every team around you add, relief pitchers, or in the case of the Mariners, 2 big bats. Like, it's not like that. But still, you knew you had a few days to add to the team and also show some belief in the team too, and you choose not to do it. And we've seen already this year, they've been relatively fortunate, I would say, injury-wise, where their depth hasn't been tested. However,
it started to pile up a touch.
It has.
Stevenson, Booty, even our guy Christian Ellis. The only real injury they've dealt with this year, and it was a significant one, was Gonzo to start the year.
Yeah, Gonzo to start, and now he's back. And you know what you saw then? You saw Alex Austin in coverage, and it didn't go great.
Nope.
So you understand how important depth is, and then so Antonio Gibson goes down, and then Ramondre Stevenson goes down, and now, all due respect to him, Terrell Jennings is getting carries. Is that what you want? Like, if you're making a playoff push, you want Terrell Jennings getting carries? You saw last week, Keyshawn Booty leaves the game. Now Kyle Williams is getting 31 snaps where he's invisible. Like, I think already you've seen how, like, you're not going to have 100% health all season long. You're going to miss a guy or two, and maybe even more as the season unfolds. Are you prepared right now to replace those guys? I don't really think so. You're kind of walking a tightrope as you've been a little bit more healthy than some of these other teams in the AFC. And you had a chance yesterday to sort of bolster that a little bit with a wideout, with a running back, pick a spot on defense. So I was definitely let down.
Here's your safety room right now, just as an example. And you've subtracted 2 from there. You cut Peppers early. You traded Kyle Duggar last week to Pittsburgh. And again, I don't really miss either one per se, but I might if Jalen Hawkins or Craig Woodson, our guy, the eraser, winds up getting hurt. Your other safeties, Del Pettis, who actually made a play in the game on Sunday.
He made a play, yeah.
John Saunders, who Ted was texting me about, like, get ready for this kid. It's another guy they added. He was a healthy scratch this past weekend. And Brendan Schooler, who's a special teamer, maybe gets out there in the Longhorn package from time to time.
He was a menace last year, the Longhorn
That's
package.
Your safety room right now. So you subtracted from that room. Edge rusher, I like what they've gotten so far out of Harold Landry. I didn't talk a lot about that signing when they made it. He's been great.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely didn't talk about Caleb Chase, and we barely even mentioned his name. He's been awesome.
No, we talked about him a lot in camp because he was so good. But we kept saying, like, is this going to last? And, well, to his credit, it has.
So, okay, those 2 guys have been great.
Yeah.
After that, you do still have Anthony Jennings. At least they didn't subtract him. Right. And then we're talking about Caleb Murphy, who they just claimed, Elijah Ponder, maybe Tavai mixes in there. Like, he's more off the line.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this is what I'm saying. You could have bolstered your depth. Mm-hmm. You could have raised your ceiling, and you didn't. Instead, you subtracted from your depth, which to me is frustrating. And not everybody improved. The Chiefs did nothing, right? The Bills did nothing. So not everybody improved, but the Colts did. That's a team you could be duking it out for a bye week with. Like, that's a team. The number 1 seed in the AFC could have shifted yesterday. I don't think this is overly dramatic. It could have shifted yesterday because the Colts were willing to part with 2 first-round picks, which the Patriots didn't need to do. I wasn't demanding they trade 2 first-rounders, but they decided to do that to go all in on this year. And the 1 seed may have shifted yesterday. Let's see, because they got Sauce Gardner and you sat on your hands. The Jaguars, you might get them now in the postseason. In fact, I think it's lined up for that. If the season ended today, I think you're playing the Jaguars on Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, the Jags.
And they
An
just
old buddy Jacoby Myers.
that game just got more difficult because they made a trade for Jacoby Myers.
Right.
So
and they didn't sacrifice their future. They didn't do anything crazy. They're not up against it. You can trade a 4th and a 6th round pick to help your team this year. You know, how much is the 4th and the 6th round pick next year going to help the team next year?
Yeah,
right? Like it's one of those things where it's a lottery ticket. You might hit on somebody.
I don't want to be inconsistent. Like both you and I yesterday, when we saw the asking price on Jacoby Myers, we were like, nah, I wouldn't have done that. But I just used him as a point to illustrate. It wasn't all Titans and Dolphins and Jets. There were other teams that traded guys that were willing to talk to you.
Yep.
There were probably other players on the Raiders you could have asked about. It wasn't just Jacoby Myers. You could have asked about other guys. And so to me, that's annoying. And it's frustrating. And let's see where it goes from here, starting with the game on Sunday against Tampa. The other thing that I don't like, beyond the Rossini excuse-making, beyond the excuse-making to Giardi, and this isn't his excuse-making, but, it was passed along to him that the Titans didn't want to deal with the Pats, fine. Is this Commanders' excuse, like you don't want to be the Commanders, has really started to bother me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I've heard it a bunch of different places. You know where it's coming from. It's coming from the team, maybe ownership, maybe the front office, but it's coming from the team, maybe the coaching staff, I don't know. But it's coming from them, clearly. We've heard it multiple places. Breer, Bedard, they puke it up everywhere. Yeah. And I don't get why being the Commanders is such a bad thing. They were in the conference championship game last year. I think if the Patriots go to the conference championship game, that's not the ultimate goal, but that's a pretty great season. If they're in the AFC title game and they lose to Mahomes or something like that, I think that's a pretty worthy season and a reason to make a deal, which the Commanders did last year for Lattimore. They probably overpaid. He's now hurt. In the offseason, they doubled down and traded for Debo, 5th-round pick. They traded for Tunsil, who's been good, and their quarterback got hurt. I don't think the Commanders upended their future, drastically altered their future, changed their long-term outlook because they traded some day 3 picks. I think the reason that their short-term outlook is upended, and maybe long-term if the injuries continue, is their quarterback got hurt.
Yeah.
But if you can keep Drake May healthy, and I'm less worried about that than a lot of the nanas are out there about him running around, if you can keep Drake May healthy, you can part with your day 3 picks and it won't come back to bite you, I promise.
Yeah, I just don't really understand the argument against adding, because you're way under the salary cap if you even want to play that game. That's not something that we really highlight a lot because we assume if you want to make a move, you can make it. But if you want to play that game out, right? And it's funny because Ray Believin made that comment when he was talking on the morning show about like, hey, there's no such thing as an easy schedule because everybody pays money in the league. Everybody has a salary cap. It's like, all right, well, some do pay more than others. You have a ton of flexibility there. You even peeled off a couple pieces a week before to sort of take a look at what your entire roster is and then see, all right, what holes need to be filled. And you're by no means a like perfect roster. You can always tinker to it. I thought maybe they would because, again, similar to your guy Breslow, who had a good offseason and then a bad trade deadline, because they had the good offseason, like they identified a lot of good players in the offseason. I know it's apples to oranges, but like in free agency, they went out there, they found guys that they liked, and they brought them in. You're like, okay, good. Now it's the deadline, so it's a little bit different. You have to entice teams with draft picks and whatever else. But I thought because they have so many different guys in their front office and on their coaching staff that have been around the league, I thought there'd be like direct lines to certain players that they wanted and they would make trades for and be like, all right, this guy we know can come in here and help us out. I coached him 4 years ago or whatever. Like I thought there would be somebody there, and it might not be somebody that everybody's heard of and like like a household name, but somebody that would shore up the depth, somebody that maybe makes a big play or two between now and the end of the year. But instead they do nothing. So it's just it was frustrating. I thought yesterday was an opportunity to make the team better, and they didn't do it.
Yeah. So to me, look, I see some of the Twitch chat discussing, what did all these teams do? Why did other teams make these moves? And I get all that. I also see people saying, I was talking up the Texans a couple of years ago in their approach. And Crickets, since the Texans won double-digit games back-to-back years.
They won a division 2 years
I don't think
ago,
it's been
they?
Crickets back. Yeah, they won a playoff game in 2 straight years.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Crickets at all. They're down this year, but I think the Texans had a good approach. And by the way, you kind of echoed what they did. They got their quarterback and everything turned. It's almost exactly what I said 2 years ago about them.
As long as they don't trade Will Campbell in the next 2 years, because that's what the Texans did.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want that.
My plan with the Texans was you could get your quarterback and cash in immediately and start him from day one and be a good team. I honestly think if they started Drake May earlier last year, they'd be in way better shape, but whatever. Neither here nor there. you look at some of the moves that happen around the league, and I don't think this is another thing that came up in the Twitch chat. I don't disagree or agree rather with Brian Hoyer. I guess he said this yesterday that if you make a trade, you send a message to your team that you're not good enough. Do you buy that? Like,
wow.
If we
I've
make a
never
trade,
heard that.
I actually look at it the complete opposite way. I look
that's
at it and say
wild.
the team looks at us and we look at our front office and they don't think we're good enough because they didn't invest in us.
Wow.
I think it's the complete opposite of that Brian Hoyer, who's been in a locker room.
Sure
I get
has.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Been in way more locker rooms than me.
That's right.
I also think he, I don't know, might be a little biased
No,
towards this organization. So I try to look somewhere in between those two things.
Credit to him for a unique take because you remember like Kenley Jansen and like Devers and all those guys when they were here and the Red Sox did nothing and they like Alex Cora. Do you think they thought that was a good sign?
When you make a trade, the team looks at it and goes, we weren't good enough.
So why does every good team in like baseball and hockey always make deals at the deadline?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I appreciate the.
I guess afternoons we'll have to ask him about it, or maybe we can talk to Brian.
I like
about
the
it.
uniqueness of the take, but
Yeah.
it's a horrible one. It's like we maybe do worst take of the week. That could be a new one. We have the brag of the week. Maybe worst take of the week.
Worst take of the week.
Brian Hoyer.
Make trades and your team panics.
People
That's
are like,
what it
oh,
is.
wait a minute. They don't think we're good.
That's what people were saying about Breslow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh
When the
yeah.
Packers-
when Breslow makes no trades, people are like, yeah, good for you. Now that the team knows you believe in them.
Because
That's what
remember
people say.
when the Packers traded for Micah Parsons, I remember they were like, what? You don't think we can get after that?
You don't believe in us?
You don't believe in us?
What?
They laid down and died.
Hilarious.
Like, we can't do it.
So anyway, how you feeling about the trade deadline? Do you think we're overreacting? I know some of you
When
do.
the Celtics added Kevin Garnett, I remember they went into like a little ball. They're like, you don't think we're good enough to win as is?
I just love it. If the Patriots made a trade yesterday, you guys all would have been mad at them,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what you would have been. You would have been like, why are you adding talent to this team?
Now,
What
to
are you
be
doing?
fair, Hoyer is the guy that predicted anywhere between 7 and 11 wins at the beginning of the year.
It's amazing. It's amazing he predicted a 4-win range.
And he's gonna miss.
He's still going to be wrong.
It's gonna be
They're
12.
going to win outs. They're going to win more than the range he gave you. That's
He thought he covered his
That's
bases.
honestly an incredible trick.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Get him next time.
617-779-7937. Your thoughts on the trade deadline. How would you grade it? And I guess this is a debate. Was that yesterday a sign that they believe in the team or don't believe in the
Maybe
team?
they
Win total should be somewhere between 8 and 11 games.
Oh, 8 and
Oh,
11.
sorry.
My bad. 8 and
Sorry.
11.
It's
8,
probably
9,
gonna be
10,
probably
11.
going to be 12.
So, yeah, 4
Maybe
games.
13. We didn't even get the range right. We'll get to all your feedback here coming up. Plus, why do the Patriots need to worry about the rest of the AFC? We can get into that. We got Bruins thoughts. We got Pure Hoops with Terp. At high noon, we have actually a random BC thought. Bill O'Brien had a good rant.
Bill
yesterday.
O'Brien's been running hot here the last few weeks because his team's trash, and he is now getting mad.
He's full on that's what they used to call him, right? Teapot?
Oh, Teapot. Yeah, he runs hot.
He's gone
Yeah,
full on
yeah.
teapot.
That's
We
good.
got Would You Rathers on a Would You Rather Wednesday. We have the hashtag Dork Minute. Plus Mike Vrabel live out. A lot on the show today.
This is
My
a
goodness.
jam-packed show.
Real jam-packed.
Go nowhere.